All right. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, first of all, I'm glad to be back. Appreciate everybody giving me some grace while I was out the last couple of days. It's definitely not fun being sick, but my temperature broke yesterday, so I feel good coming back. Energy ain't quite where it needs to be, but hey, I'm sure that'll recover over the next couple of days. So today's meeting is going to be a little bit short. I did pull some market numbers. Obviously, we're going to talk about mortgage rates, but I just kind of, now that we're a couple of days into the NAR thing, I wanted to have a good portion where we just do like a question and answer, talk to you a little bit about forms. As we get new information, we're continuing to update our forms, and obviously we'll distribute that stuff out as well. But before we dive into all of that, let's jump into market data. And first and foremost, looking at Owensboro through August 16th, which of course was last Friday, 81 sales. So trending just under July numbers, but still overall a pretty good number. In the second half of the month tends to be the busier half of the month in regards to closings. The average days on market's holding steady, 66 to 67. And pricing and inventory has actually come down a little bit, which is kind of to be expected over the next couple months. I do expect inventory to kind of trickle down as we get closer to the fall season. We're kind of in this quote unquote dead period is what a lot of agents call it. It's the first 2 weeks of people going back to school. And I don't know if y'all are seeing that, but a lot less showings, a lot less activity, not across the board, but just know that if you are in that slow period, it doesn't mean that we're already hitting fall. It just means that a lot of people are busy getting kids back into school, reestablishing routines, things like that. And we do expect the second half of August to be the stronger half of the month. And then really, honestly, with where interest rates and stuff are, and they did tick up ever so slightly, but they're still pretty good, then we expect September to be a really good month as well. Looking at, let me let Caleb in real quick. There we go. Looking at our other territories, Elizabethtown, 262 closings, 90 days on market. So the days on market for the last couple of weeks have been down a little bit, which is good. That's what I wanted to see there. 645 active listings. So inventory continues to grow in the Elizabethtown market in particular. Still low in regards to months of inventory. I do expect by the end of this month to be probably closer to 2 months worth of inventory, as well as same thing applies there as far as activity over the last couple of weeks. Don't be scared by the projected of 530 closings. I think that we still hit over 600 closings in the Elizabethtown market. In Louisville, which of course is right next to Elizabethtown, they're probably the most down market that we've seen so far, with 584 closings through the first 2 weeks, well, a little over 2 weeks. So they're projecting out, somewhere around 1,100 total closings. I think they'll get probably closer to 12. Days on market staying low. Inventory is staying fairly low there as well. But all in all, kind of the same story across the board. We're starting to hit that little bit of a slowdown in regards to the inventory. But as we have more and more people applying for mortgages, now that rates are down, we do expect that again just to kind of pick up towards the second half of August and then continue in through the September timelines as well. Looking at Evansville, they're actually the one that's the closest to hitting July numbers with over 1,570 listings sold so far. You can see their days on market are hovering right around 40 as well. Inventory continues to go up. So they're the one unique area in that their inventory is growing, yet their sales aren't quite declining at the other rates as some of the other markets. So just something to continue to monitor. All in all, especially with the NAR stuff, the rates and different things going on, you're going to have that little period where people are like, oh crap, what do we do? Right. And that's where it's up to us to be the expert and guide them along the way. And I don't know about y'all, but I know I've been asked 2 or 3 times by people who are looking to buy, and what's the impact to the NAR in regards to them and what they have going on. And really, honestly, it's very minimum because we know that most listings are offering co-ops and things along those lines as well. So
Can't use co-op.
as far as mortgage rates, yeah, I'm
know
gonna be
it's
so
gonna
mad
take.
about that.
I know it's like
Yeah,
you gotta.
compensation. No, I mean
Commission.
commission.
Yeah,
Commission.
seller directed commission.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna take a while to get that out of our.
I mean, I still call guide to agency relationships, and it's something completely different now. So yeah, it'll take me a while. In regards to mortgage rates, you can see where the rates were at. This was actually from 2 weeks ago. So 6.34, FHA and VA around 5.75. As I mentioned a second ago, they did jump up ever so slightly, not a big impact to people, but 6.5 for our 30-year. And then the FHA and VA is both right at 6. Now, of course, we do expect the September rate cut. Just a reminder, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but they kind of already priced that in. The good news is with the direction that the economy is heading, everything that we're seeing, we are expecting at least 2 rate cuts. September being the first one, and either November or December being the second one. So if any of your buyers are asking, we do not expect an immediate 1/4 point reduction here in the next month, just in case they're holding out for that and saying, hey, I'm going to wait until this next rate cut and then I'll buy. Go ahead and get them looking. First of all, 1/4 point isn't going to make a big difference on their payment. And second of all, we're probably not going to get that 1/4 point in regards to mortgage rates because it's already kind of priced in. So just wanted to remind everybody of that. Any questions on mortgage rates or market stats? Okay. Not a lot of news on either of those fronts. So again, I didn't have a lot, but let's talk NAR changes. Q&A conversation, obviously Friday. I've heard from multiple people. It was a really great day and a lot of information was shared. One of the things that we wanted to kind of let you all know is that
I can't take it.
You could just move that.
I can't take it.
So y'all let me know if I got any boogers on there, if you can see now. So we keep getting new information, and because our industry is doing a really great job of sharing information also, we're getting copies of a lot of different buyer agency forums, both locally from other parts of Kentucky, and even some from other states. The one thing I want to caution everybody on is be mindful of any documents that get sent to you. Where are they? We got one from, was it Tennessee or Texas or somewhere? Colorado. Mm-hmm. And it's a great form, but unfortunately it just doesn't apply to our laws. Colorado has a completely different set of laws than Kentucky does as well. So, but we're continuing to update our buyer agencies. Actually,
be patient with me.
Yeah, me and Kelly were texting and talking at like 10 o'clock last night. As we get new information that protects you and protects the consumer at the highest level possible, we're going to make changes. So you're going to see, I don't think,
I sent it out last night at 10:30 and a Loom explaining the changes.
That's right. So at 10:30 last night, there was the latest form of buyer agencies. Yes, we are getting those into .loop, DocuSign, everywhere along those lines. DocuSign usually takes about 10 to 14 days to actually put the forms in the system. So in the meantime, you can use those. Also, don't be surprised if we change it again here in another week or two, because again, it's all about providing you the best tools that have the best explanation while protecting you and the consumer at the same time. So as this continues to roll out, as we continue to get new information, we'll update those forms. We'll always email them to you, and as soon as we possibly can, we'll get them uploaded into DocuSign and templated out so they're pre-fillable and all those things as well.
Well, because what we're learning is like the state forms don't have one-time showings. The state forms don't have admin fee. Like the state form is very not creative, I would say is the best word to do it. And I want you all to be able to be creative and be negotiable and work out your professional value, right? If they do things. And so that's why like we added some language and we did that because it's like, I wanted y'all to be able to negotiate because the consumer is kind of dictating some of this. And we can't always, like, we need to be able to be fluid and to be able to kind of pivot, you know what I mean? Yep. So 2 documents are missing right now that we're going to be working on is a buyer agency release. Mm-hmm. And there was one other one I told you that we're missing. We don't have a release yet. We're working on that.
The one I remember. So we're not doing the compensation form anymore.
No, we're not doing compensation form anymore. There was another form that it'll come to me that we need. I think that's it right now.
Getting real quick. Yeah. So just keep an eye on your email. Obviously, we'll communicate via GroupMe, via social media, via email, every text message, every way we possibly can to keep you updated.
An addendum for commission. So let's say your BA says 2 and they offer you 3, you need an addendum. For right now, just write it on the addendum of, purchase contract, but we'll make a commission. What we'll do is we'll do a commission agreement to either increase or release, and we'll probably put it on one document.
So there's some mixed information on
Yes.
whether or not you can actually do an increase. Half the people I talk to, and this is state level people, are saying you can do it, meaning if you get an addendum, you get an exclusive buyer agency signed at 2%, the seller is willing to offer compensation of 3% compensation. I'm not saying right. Yeah, 3%. Then can you do an addendum changing it from 2 to 3? Well, half the people say you can. Half the people at the state level are saying you cannot. So we don't really have clarity behind that. So
Why are they saying that?
Huh?
Why are they saying that?
Because I can't remember the exact verbiage, but basically it's unfair and not transparent representation. Because you're telling the buyer, hey, no matter what, the worst you're going to get charged is 2%, but then you're collecting 3%. So if that person wasn't offering, were you going to charge the buyer 3%? No. So then can you really do an addendum? So you can always go down, but you might not be able to go up. Just know that. So I'm only telling you this because again, we don't have clarity behind this, but shoot for 3% and have the conversation of.
It says negotiable
Yeah,
in
it
line
says-
item 3, whatever.
Yeah, so, one of the things you'll want to do is go 3% and say, hey, if the seller isn't offering 3% or, seller isn't offering anything, we'll sit down and we'll renegotiate this at this point. I'm sure the state and national level will give us clarity behind that, but my guess is they're not going to want to see us go up. They're only going to want to see us potentially go down. So just keep that, store in the back of your brain for now. Carry on as business as usual, but just shoot for the higher number and then adjust as needed. So.
And I just wanted to also, I know y'all are probably sick of me the past few days, but the reason why I do not want to build a broker email with all the seller commission or what the seller's offering is one I already went over with you all. If you're listening, like you don't have to tell the buying agent, right, what the commission is from the seller. It's all negotiable, right? But 2, if let's just say hypothetically, since there's such gray waters, we send an email out to Century 21 saying this seller is paying 2.5%, and then for some reason in negotiations it's less than that. Is there a lawsuit? Is there liability for us expressing a higher amount when it's negotiated lower? So at this point, I'm not comfortable with us talking as cooperation broker to broker. I'm not comfortable with that because
That's like the emails that we're getting from the other ones, right? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the master list
seen
that
a
says,
few of
here's
them,
all
like
the
the master
properties and here's
Well,
everything that's
we'll
on.
do it between us.
Yeah.
we can do
Yes.
it between, yes, we're
I
gonna
know,
do
yeah,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
we're gonna do it between us, but
You just don't.
in the lawsuit, it states you can't have broker cooperation back and forth, and that to me,
That's the same thing.
And at the end of the day, though, we all want to be on the same page. and We
Correct.
want to work together.
and we
so
want to tell them what it is, but there may be a strategy where,
There's got to be a way we can all come together and come to a solution on
Yeah.
something. To where
yeah.
We're working smarter, not harder.
Correct,
You know
but there could be a situation where you get in a multiple offer situation and you're representing your seller, right? In the
Right.
best interest of your seller. And you've put out there that you're offering 3%, but then all of a sudden someone writes you an offer and they're like, I'm gonna only do it for 2. I'm gonna write in there, hey seller, only pay me 2. I want my buyer to get it. I'm just saying hypothetically, okay? But you've put out that you're paying 3. You know what I mean? Like, you may upset the buyer's agent and it's like, hey, you told me you were offering 3. Well, hey, but this agent wrote me an offer that says 2. See where it can be very hairy? And that's why I want to caution you on your discussions, especially in multiple offer situations.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that, we ultimately decided, I think it's a great idea, it was Kelly's idea to get rid of the broker compensation form, because if we sign that form saying that I'm gonna pay you 3% at the beginning, like before you even show the house,
You're showing
and
your
then through negotiation, let's just say that it ends up being 2%, And that's what goes in the purchase agreement. And we are encouraging you to put it in the purchase agreement because according to lenders we're talking to, if it's not in the purchase agreement, it's not going on the closing statement at all. So it definitely has to be in the purchase agreement. But let's just say it's written in the purchase agreement at 2%, but you've shared a broker compensation form at 3%. Well,
Where's that 1%
where's that 1%? And legally speaking,
That's actually
could
good.
you be opened up for liability? And then like they say, no, I have the signed agreement, I want 3%, and then you have to reduce your commission, or who knows where it goes from there. Worst
And
case.
most agents will want to get the deal done at the end of the day, but you'll have some that will be pricks and it, but
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
This really is best to wait till I get a purchase agreement and see what they
Yeah.
put on there, because that's
Yeah.
what you're gonna do on the buy-in.
So Denise just handed me this, that Indiana came out with a broker compensation agreement in their MLS for Indiana Associated Realtors. So I'm guessing what happens with this is what's submitted with the offer, correct?
No, so, well, they just shared that to us, so, and as long as we sign it, it's saying that if we,
It locks it in.
yeah, it locks it in.
I mean, some people may choose to do that.
So
Yeah.
what I like about that is, cause like Brad Belcher posted that thing in Gora saying that if it's not on the purchase agreement, you will not get paid and we will not add it later.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
hell,
yeah.
cause I know there's all these Indiana contracts I've written in the last month where I didn't put it on the contract.
And I think that could potentially be lender to lender. We don't know. So like it kind of depends on the underwriting process, but to be
It's
safe,
so gray right now.
even if you have that, to be safe, I would still
But
put it in the
that's a
purchase
seller fee
agreement.
No matter what.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's gonna be on the seller's side, it's coming out of their
Mhm.
net. So why does he have any control whether it can be on that settlement statement or not?
That's a great question. And, if you think about it from an admin fee, that's not in our purchase agreement, but we can add that to settlement statements. But just know for now, yes, there is a lot of gray area. There is a lot of unknown. The great thing of being part of Keller Williams, y'all hear me say this all the time, is we have 170,000 agents across the US, all figuring it out at the same time. So I promise you, if there's a company that figures it out first, it's going to be us. And I just saw where they're actually doing a webinar. I can't remember the exact date. I'll get it and email it out. But KW's doing a webinar on best practices and stuff like that. I think it's like next Friday or something like that.
And
So
just
we'll
also
look
know, like, you may want this strategy where you share the compensation and you say, hey, we're gonna sell this house for me. Well, I'll pay you 3, right? Like your strategy from house to house could be different.
Yep.
And
100%.
that's my whole thing is, Luce, you may have a multiple offer and you may say, I'm not, just give me your best offer.
Yeah.
Let's see. But then you may have a house that's sitting there that you're like, hey, I'm sending you this document that I'm gonna pay you 3.5%, get me an offer, right? Like the strategy could be different.
It's just like me throwing an offer at somebody I know that will probably make a deal happen, just throwing them a price, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's the
Yes,
same thing.
Yeah.
same thing.
Just like that.
Yeah, the
It's just
strategy,
making a deal happen. That's
it's,
all it
the
is.
strategy is different for every listing.
And when you're on the buy side of multiple offers, this is maybe just spurred a thought, understand that you might have to take that in consideration when you're in multiple offers. Not that I'm not asking you to reduce your commission, but understand that other agents might. So if you're like at 300 and you're like, hey, I think I'm gonna offer 305, well, another agent might offer 305 and 1% less. So take that into consideration. Maybe you need to offer 308, things like, just stuff to think about. I mean, we'll obviously figure all this out as we go, but just something to consider.
Mm-hmm. And like I was thinking last night, I was actually talking to Travis about this. I was like, you may get a situation where you submit an offer and the seller's like, hey, I'm gonna pay 3%, 3% buyer directed compensation, but then yet you lowball the seller. And the seller's like,
I'm not paying that 3%.
I'm not paying that 3%. I'll pay you 1.
Right.
All that stuff is legal now.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying you better write a dang good offer.
Well, my thing is, I don't want it to,
Especially if you want.
I don't want it to push the agents apart. That's my thing, is
Yeah.
I've been doing this a while now, and
Hmm.
that's the worst thing, is dealing with a crappy agent on the other side.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, instead of fighting with each other, I mean, at the end of the day, I keep saying it, but we're here to get deals done and make the deal happen. So 1%, 2%, 3%, we want to get the deal done for our clients, whether we're working with the buyer or the seller. That's what our job is.
And call the
So-
agent before the seller counters that, so
Yes.
you don't put it on the contract and
Right.
say, hey, they're gonna counter, but they're gonna cut you. So do you wanna get your person up before your person sees it?
Yeah, I
I'm
just
just-
don't want it to make it where, like, we're fighting with other agents, because I can see where that
I-
can easily happen, which it'll happen.
And then the
Something-
buyer's like,
Yeah,
well, why won't you take the 1?
And then that's why they don't wanna work with realtors.
Correct. So,
It's a big educational thing where just how I discuss with my buyers though, just how we educate them on, if you come in really low, what's gonna happen when you get to repairs? It's kind of the same animal, like, all of this is still a discussion to educate a buyer. Like, the buyer has to understand all of this.
And there might be multiple
least to some
levels
degree.
of compensation negotiation, because
that's
if you
why,
come in at, maybe the seller's offering 3% at full price, but if you're less than that, maybe it drops to 2%. And then if you're gonna request a bunch of repairs, maybe they wanna adjust that again, so
Well, you may
it
be
could be
working with those
ongoing.
people for a year, and you're like, shit, I'll take a 1.5%. Get them out of my head. Sorry, boom, let's go.
Yeah.
The great
You-
news,
May I add something here?
this is more than ever get to determine your value,
Yeah.
right? And make sure that you don't sugarcoat a conversation with the consumer. It is upfront, this is what I'm worth, this is what I'll go to work for you for.
Yeah.
So,
and then the more value that you can provide, obviously, the easier it's gonna be to get your compensation also.
or do you want to even work with that person? Denise, you want to talk about your experience this weekend?
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody gets Zillow leads, but we get those ones that are now, they've even turned into, they're called real-time touring. And you say, yes, I can accept this time. And it's supposed to schedule it through showing time, but it doesn't. And then you have to do it yourself. So I always reach right out to the person and I say, hey, listen, I need to talk to you about a few things. And you go through the qualification process. And the person wouldn't answer my phone call, so I just texted them. And I said, there's some new laws I need to go over with you, and I need some paperwork signed before we can go see a house. And he just said, oh, well, sorry, I went ahead and reached out to somebody else I was working with previously in the year. So I hope that person got paperwork signed, but if not, it wasn't me wasting my time.
Yeah.
And
We
one,
just said that this
That's a
morning.
good
Honestly,
thing.
I would rather eliminate the people that
Right.
just play with me.
Correct.
I really would just rather.
I'm not gonna bet on like 10
I mean,
people and
I'm
hope
not-
that one of them picks me.
Yeah.
I would rather focus on what's the most dollar productive activity, and if they choose someone else,
And that's where you show your confidence and value and say, look, I'm not, that's
Okay.
when you put your foot down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and one of the things that we added in on the newest forms is I think it's the bottom line, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken.
Section
It actually,
7.
yeah, it actually says in there that you are not represented by anybody else, and this is an exclusive agreement. We put that in there to help protect you all, so if Jane Doe buyer goes to Denise and has signed an agreement, they can't come to Kevin and sign an agreement right afterwards. It basically, and we.
I
got
made
the-
initials so
yeah.
that you actually read that to them.
Yeah, which would basically, and the purpose behind that is, we'll see how it stands up, but basically to nullify any previous agreement, so that if you're the latest one, you're the one that gets paid. Obviously, procuring calls is still a thing and stuff like that, but we hope that'll help cut out, because I'm telling you, there will be buyers that will go around and sign 17 of these things, just getting into individual houses, and then who knows where that goes, but we'll stay on top of it, Online, anybody online have any questions, comments, or anything along those lines that?
I've got a comment if you don't care.
Yeah, Jody. Hey, and thank you, Jody, for helping me yesterday.
Hey, welcome. I want to remind everybody that the commission that we charge for the services that we provide is the longest lever that we have to determine how much money we make. So if we use every opportunity in renegotiation to cut our commission, when you look up at the end of the year, you're not going to be making any money, but you're going to have a whole lot of expenses. If your strategy is simply to cut commission, way better strategy to have that conversation of value, like Matt just said, with your buyer. And then also everything that you do for your buyer, relay that to them in a message or an email. That way they know you're working for them the whole time. So if it comes down to the end of the term, closing time, and sellers are paying 2.5, but you're charging 3, they're more likely to pay your 3 to fix the gap. That's all.
No, that's a really good point, Jody. I'm glad you said it. And Mike Hicks, I believe is his name, talked a lot about this, and that if your sellers ever, or buyers or clients in general, ever ask you a question, then that means you haven't done a good enough job articulating what you're doing. Because a lot of times, you've heard me talk about being secret agents from social media standpoint, but sometimes we're secret agents to our own clients. And we might do 800 things in the background to make the transaction smoothly. And in the past, we just never articulated that, because the ultimate goal was, let's get to the closing table. Well, now is the time to articulate that. So you fill out a seller compensation form with the title company, you shoot them a message and say, hey, just want you to know, title company reached out, I took care of them, got XYZ done, and we are moving forward with whatever's the next step in the process. But I think an over communication will be how you establish your value so that they don't ever question what all they're getting, in regards to the money that they may or may not pay. So,
Any other questions?
any questions in here? All right, well, we'll wrap this one up. Next week, I'll be back with some economic data as we get closer to the next Fed meeting that'll be happening in September. And we'll look at the overall economy, jobless claims, and all of that fun stuff. But if y'all don't have any more questions, then we'll wrap this one up, except for, obviously, the people here. There's some broker opens, and we'll go through all of that info. All right, see ya.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.